The colony world of Dawnreach had always been quiet. It was a place of farms, small cities, and families who had chosen a slower life away from the crowded core worlds of humanity. People worked the fields, raised their children, and watched the twin suns rise and fall. To most colonists, the wider galaxy was something distant, like a story in a book. War, politics, alien empires, those were problems for someone else. Dawnreach only wanted peace. That peace ended in a single afternoon. It began with a shadow. High above the fields, a shape blotted out the sun. Farmers paused in confusion, thinking it was some kind of storm. But when the shape grew sharper, people realized it was no cloud. It was a ship, descending slowly and silently. Then another followed, and another. By the time the third ship appeared, panic had spread. Children pointed at the sky. Elders whispered in fear. The colony had no defense fleet, no warships, not even a proper militia. They had never needed one. Humanity had enemies, yes, but this far out? Who would bother with a quiet farming world? The answer came when the ships opened. The vessels were smooth and curved, their hulls shining like polished stone. From their bellies descended figures tall and robed in silver. Their faces glowed faintly as though light itself bent to them. The colonists gasped. Some fell to their knees, believing they were seeing angels. But they were not angels. They were the Eleutheri. The Eleutheri were an ancient alien race who traveled the stars claiming to be more than mortals. They called themselves the Eternal Gods. Wherever they went, they demanded worship. Some species resisted and were destroyed. Others knelt and lived as servants, giving tribute of food, resources, and labor. For centuries, the Eleutheri had avoided human space, watching quietly. Now they had come. The leader of the Eleutheri on Dawnreach was a towering figure named Valor. His voice, amplified by strange technology, boomed across the city square. "You stand before the divine," he declared. "We are the Eleutheri. Your gods return to guide you. From this day forward you will kneel, you will serve, and you will give tribute. Refuse, and you will know our wrath." Some colonists fell prostrate immediately. Fear made them obedient. Others stood frozen, unable to decide. But a few, very few, clenched their fists. They did not believe. Among them was Captain Adrian Voss. Voss was no ordinary farmer. Years ago he had served in the Terran Navy, but he retired after too many battles. He came to Dawnreach for peace, building a quiet life with his sister's family. But when he saw the Eleutheri step onto human soil, something in his old soldier's heart stirred. He whispered to himself, "Gods don't need warships." The Eleutheri wasted no time showing their power. They summoned the colonists to the plaza, demanding food, minerals, and every ship the colony possessed. When a miner named Garrett refused, saying the colony could not survive without its supplies, Valor lifted a single hand. Light gathered in his palm, and in a flash, Garrett was gone, turned to ash before his family's eyes. The crowd screamed. Mothers held their children. Men shouted in anger but dared not act. "Obey," Valor said coldly, "or share his fate." From that moment, fear ruled Dawnreach. The Eleutheri set themselves in the governor's palace, draping the human building. With banners of silver, they demanded daily offerings of food. They forced colonists to bow whenever they passed. To make sure no one resisted, they placed patrols of armored soldiers in every street. These soldiers carried long spears that glowed with strange energy, weapons that could cut through stone. For days, the colonists lived in silence. No one dared speak of rebellion. No one, except Adrian Voss. At night, Voss met secretly with a handful of trusted colonists in the basement of an abandoned storehouse. They whispered of what they had seen, of Garrett's death, of the humiliation forced upon them. Some argued there was no hope. Others said they must endure to survive. But Voss spoke differently. "They are not gods," he said firmly. "They bleed. They build ships, they use weapons. That makes them like us. Powerful, yes, but not divine. The group listened. Many wanted to believe him, but fear was strong. "What can we do?" one woman asked. "We have no ships, no guns, nothing." Voss looked at the floor for a long time, then spoke in a low voice. "We are not alone. The Terran fleet knows of the Elithari. They've been watching them for years. The fleet is building something powerful. If we can send word, if we can hold out long enough, maybe, just maybe, help will come." Hope flickered, but only faintly. Meanwhile, the Elithari tightened their grip. Phailor announced a great ceremony. Every human on Dawnreach was ordered to gather at the plaza in 2 weeks. There the Elithari would demand full submission. Anyone who refused would be executed. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some colonists began carving idols of the Elithari, hoping worship would protect them. Others packed what little they could, planning to escape into the wild hills. But the Elithari patrols hunted escapees without mercy. Adrian Voss spent the nights repairing an old comms array hidden beneath his barn. It was ancient, but with some modifications, it could send a signal across the stars. He worked alone, not even telling his sister, because if the Elithari found out, her life would be forfeit. Every day, he walked the streets, watching the fear in people's eyes. It burned inside him. He remembered battles of the past, times when humanity had stood against impossible odds and survived. He thought of the old saying from Earth, "Never kneel to false gods." But could Dawnreach hold out until help came? The day of the ceremony drew closer. Silver banners covered the plaza. Elithari soldiers lined the streets. Children cried in fear as their parents whispered desperate prayers. And above it all, Phailor stood tall, his glowing eyes sweeping over the crowd like a judge over criminals. In that moment, humanity seemed small and powerless. But far beyond Dawnreach, in the silent void between stars, something stirred. A signal carried across space, bouncing from relay to relay. Somewhere, deep in the hidden shipyards of the Terran fleet, a message was received. "Dawnreach under Elithari control. Request immediate assistance." And from the darkness, a reply came. Message received. Hold out. Reinforcements inbound. The colonists of Dawnreach did not yet know, but soon the Elithari would learn a lesson they would never forget. The days after the Elithari's arrival grew heavier with fear. Dawnreach, once a peaceful colony of laughter and trade, now felt like a cage. Silver banners hung from every building. Elithari patrols walked the streets, their glowing spears, a constant reminder of death. At night, the skies above the colony shimmered with their warships, blotting out the stars. But even in the darkest shadows, human defiance survived. The secret meetings. Captain Adrian Voss moved quietly through the narrow alleys of the city. He wore plain workers' clothes to blend in, though his sharp eyes and soldier's posture made him stand out. Every few nights, he gathered with a small group of colonists in the basement of an old warehouse by the river. They met in whispers, their faces lit only by the dim glow of lanterns. There were farmers, miners, a school teacher, and a few young people who had lost their parents to Elithari cruelty. One night, Voss spread a crude map of the colony on the table. "We cannot fight them directly," he said. "Their weapons tear through stone. Their ships would burn us from orbit if we tried, but we can survive. We can resist, and we can send word to the fleet." The teacher, a woman named Mara, frowned. "How do you know the fleet will even come? We are far from the core worlds. They might decide we're not worth the risk." Voss's jaw tightened. He had asked himself the same question many times, but he could not let despair win. "They will come," he said firmly, "because humans don't abandon their own. Not to these false gods." The group sat in silence, fear and hope battling in their hearts. Then a young miner, barely 20, clenched his fists. "If there's even a chance, I'll fight." Others nodded. Quietly, a seed of resistance took root. The hidden signal by day, Voss played the role of an obedient colonist. He bowed when Elithari soldiers passed. He carried supplies to their warships when ordered. He never let his anger show. But at night, he worked in secret on his old comms array. The machine was ancient, older than most colonists. Its wires were frayed, its transmitter rusted. But Voss had once been an engineer in the Navy before becoming a captain. He knew how to fix things. Night after night, he repaired the device with scraps from old farming machines. He connected power, cells adjusted the dish and recalibrated the frequencies. Finally, after weeks of effort, the array hummed to life. He tapped in a coded message, one that only the Terran fleet would understand. Dawn reach under Elithari occupation. Request immediate assistance. Situation critical. The array hissed and crackled. The signal leapt into the void, bouncing from hidden relays across human space. Then came the answer. A single line of text scrolled across the screen. Message received, hold out, reinforcements inbound. Voss leaned back, closing his eyes in relief. The fleet had heard. Humanity was not blind to their suffering. But when would the reinforcements arrive? Days? Weeks? Months? Until then, Dawnreach would have to endure. The Elithari's demands. Meanwhile, Valor tightened his grip on the colony. He announced that the Elithari required not only food and minerals, but also workers. Hundreds of colonists were forced to labor, building statues of Elithari gods in the city square. Worship is obedience, Valor declared as his glowing eyes scanned the terrified crowd. The more you serve, the more we bless you. The less you serve, the sooner you vanish into dust. To prove his words, he executed another colonist, an old man who had refused to bow. The Elithari's soldiers turned the man to ash before. His family's eyes. Fear grew deeper. Some colonists even began to believe. Maybe they truly are gods, whispered one woman. No mortal could wield such power. But others resisted in their hearts. They remembered Voss's words. Gods don't need warships. Sparks of rebellion. The secret group grew bolder. Mara began hiding children in safe houses, keeping them away from Elithari patrols. The young miner and his friends stole small supplies, food, fuel, even tools, from the occupiers. One night, Voss led a small raid. They sabotaged an Elithari patrol vehicle, planting explosives beneath its engine. When the machine exploded, in a burst of fire, the colonists watching from their windows gasped in awe. For the first time, the invincible gods bled. The next day, Valor raged. Soldiers stormed the streets, dragging colonists from their homes, demanding names. But no one spoke. The people of Dawnreach had tasted defiance, and though they feared death, they would not betray their own. Whispers of hope in the taverns. Whispers spread of something greater. Old sailors who had once traveled near Terran space spoke of rumors that humanity was building massive warships, vessels larger than anything the galaxy had ever seen. They say the fleet has a new class, one man whispered in the dark. Titan class, they call it. A single one can tear through a whole armada. Just stories, another muttered. Maybe, but maybe not. Maybe that's why the Elithari finally came, because they fear what humans are building. Voss heard these whispers too. He said nothing, but inside, he knew they were true. He had once served on secret projects before retiring. He had seen glimpses of designs far larger and more advanced than ordinary ships. Humanity was preparing for something. And if one of those warships came to Dawnreach, the Elithari would learn humans were no prey. The coming ceremony. But time was running out. The great ceremony that Valor had promised drew closer. Every colonist was ordered to gather in the plaza. The Elithari would demand they kneel, swear eternal loyalty, and accept the Elithari as gods. Anyone who refused would be executed on the spot. The night before the ceremony, Voss gathered his group one last time. They will try to break us tomorrow, he said. But remember this, they are not gods. They are only tyrants. If you kneel, you give them power. If you resist, you take it back. And know this, the fleet has heard us. Help is coming. Hold out. His words spread through the group like fire. Some were still afraid, but others clenched their fists in determination. Mara placed a hand on Voss's arm. If you are wrong, I'm not wrong, Voss said quietly. I've seen too much to believe otherwise. The galaxy doesn't know it yet, but humanity is not weak. We have power, even the Elithari cannot imagine. That night, as the twin moons rose over Dawnreach, the colony held its breath. Families whispered last prayers. Children clung to their parents. The streets were silent except for the slow march of Elithari soldiers preparing for the dawn dot. And far above, beyond the stars the colonists could not see, a single signal sped across the void. A warship stirred in the darkness. Engines awakening. The Elithari believed themselves gods. But soon they would learn the truth. The morning of the ceremony came heavy with silence. Dawnreach, a world once filled with birdsong and children's laughter, felt like a grave. The Elithari had ordered every colonist to gather in the city plaza, and none dared refuse. Soldiers, with glowing spears, stood at every street corner, watching, waiting. The plaza itself had been transformed. Huge silver banners hung from the governor's palace, shimmering in the sunlight. Statues of the Elithari loomed over the crowd, carved hastily by human hands under alien command. At the center stood a raised platform, where Valor and his robed followers waited, their glowing eyes surveying the humans below like a judge over criminals. The people gathered in silence, fear etched into every face. Mothers clutched their children. Old men leaned on staffs, muttering prayers. No one spoke above a whisper. And then Valor stepped forward. The false god speaks, mortals of Dawnreach, he declared, his voice echoing unnaturally loud through the plaza. You stand before the Elithari, your eternal gods, returned to rule. Today you will kneel. Today you will swear your lives and the lives of your children to us. Refuse, and your names will be erased from existence. A wave of unease passed through the crowd. Some dropped to their knees at once, desperate to avoid death. Others trembled but remained standing, torn between fear and pride. Valor lifted a hand and a soldier dragged forward a young colonist. It was Kieran, a boy of barely 16. His face was pale, his eyes wide with terror. This one doubts, Valor said coldly. He whispered last night that we are not gods, that we are only thieves and tyrants. Let all see the price of such blasphemy. The Elithari soldier raised his spear, its tip glowing with deadly energy. The crowd gasped, but no one moved. No one dared. Except one. A spark of defiance before the spear could strike. Kieran's father, a broad-shouldered farmer named Roran, pushed through the crowd. His face was red with fury, his voice shaking. Enough, he shouted. You are no gods, you kill, you steal, you demand worship, but you are nothing but monsters. The plaza froze. Valor tilted his head, his glowing eyes narrowing. And, what are you, mortal, to speak against the eternal? I am human, Roran spat, and I will never kneel. With a cry, he lunged at the Elithari soldier, swinging a heavy farming tool. The spear flashed, and in a burst of light, Roran fell, lifeless to the ground. His son screamed. The crowd broke into chaos. Some wailed in grief, others shouted in rage, but many more fell to their knees in terror, convinced resistance was hopeless. Valor raised his arms, silencing all. This is your lesson. Defiance brings only death. Kneel now, or share his fate. And yet, in the crowd, Captain Adrian Voss stood tall. His jaw was tight, his fists clenched. He knew he could not stop the ceremony. Not yet. But his heart burned with fury. The Elithari thought fear would break humanity. They did not know how wrong they were. The hidden signal. While the colonists suffered, Voss's secret comms array continued to hum in the darkness beneath his barn. The signal he had sent raced across space, reaching further than the Elithari imagined. In a hidden shipyard orbiting a dead star, deep within Terran territory, the message was received. Engineers, officers and admirals crowded around a glowing screen as the words appeared. Dawnreach under Elithari control. Request immediate assistance. The reply was swift. Deploying reinforcement. Stand firm. In the silent void, a massive shape stirred. A warship unlike any other, the Titan-class battleship Erebus, awoke from its long slumber. Its engines rumbled. Its hull gleamed with black steel and its weapons came alive. The Elethari had no idea. The ceremony continues. Back on Dawnreach, Valor continued his performance. He demanded the colonists kneel one by one, forcing each to swear loyalty. Those who hesitated were struck down. Blood stained the plaza stones, but the Elethari showed no mercy. "Your gods are merciful," Valor said coldly, even as bodies lay lifeless at his feet. "Serve us and you will prosper. Resist and you will burn." Some colonists bowed their heads, weeping as they spoke the words. Others, silent with rage, obeyed to survive another day. But a fire had begun to spread. Whispers ran through the crowd. Whispers of the explosion that had destroyed an Elethari patrol vehicle days ago. Whispers of secret meetings. Whispers of the fleet. Marakama, the schoolteacher, stood near the front of the plaza. Her hands trembled, but she whispered to the woman beside her, "Hold on. Help is coming. I know it." The woman gave her a doubtful look, but in her eyes there was a spark. The first cracks. The Elethari soldiers might have been powerful, but they were not perfect. That night, as they dragged Roran's body away, a group of colonists slipped into the patrol barracks. They stole food, medical supplies, and even a few pieces of alien equipment. For the first time, humans held Elethari tools in their hands. Voss studied the devices carefully. "Energy-based," he muttered, examining the glowing core of a captured spear. "But unstable. If we learn how this works, we can use it against them." The others watched, hope flickering in their eyes. For the first time, the Elethari's power no longer seemed untouchable. The Elethari's doubt high above Dawnreach, aboard his flagship, Valor sat in a chamber of light. Around him, other Elethari lords appeared as shimmering projections. "You are certain they are broken?" one asked. "Yes," Valor replied. "They kneel. They obey. Their spirit is crushed." But another frowned. "I sense unease. These humans are unusual. They resist more than others have. They whisper behind closed doors. They do not fully believe." Valor's eyes narrowed. "They will believe. They have no choice." Yet even as he spoke, a message from his scouts arrived. Strange signals had been detected beyond the system. Signals unlike anything Elethari had seen before. Valor dismissed the report with a wave. "Irrelevant. The humans are isolated. They cannot summon aid." But deep inside, a sliver of doubt began to creep into his thoughts. The night before the storm, the colonists returned to their homes after the ceremony, broken and weary. Yet beneath the fear, something new grew. Anger. Roran's sacrifice had shaken them. His defiance had shown them that even gods could be challenged. That night, Adrian Voss stood on a rooftop, staring at the alien warships in the sky. His comm device buzzed softly at his side. Another message had arrived. "Reinforcement approaching. Hold on. Do not break." Voss closed his eyes. Relief and determination filled him. The fleet was coming. Humanity was coming. But the colonists didn't know yet. All they knew was fear. Tomorrow would bring more executions, more demands, more humiliation. And so Voss whispered into the night, a promise to his people. "Stand tall. Do not bow. The Elethari think themselves gods, but soon they will see the truth. Soon they will see what it means to face humanity." Above, the stars shimmered. Far away, the Erebus moved through the void, engines burning brighter with every passing second. The Elethari had set the stage for their own downfall. The horizon of Dawnreach burned orange as the twin suns rose, casting long shadows across the silver banners and alien statues. The colonists gathered once more in the plaza, trembling with fear and anticipation. Every street, every alley, every rooftop was lined with Elethari soldiers. Valor and his lords stood tall on the raised platform, their glowing eyes scanning the human crowd like predators circling prey. But above the fear, a whisper traveled among the people. "Something is coming. Something big. No one yet knew what. Me too." First sign high above the clouds, sensors on the Elethari flagship detected a ripple in space. At first, the readings were faint, just a tiny blip, almost invisible against the void. Phalor frowned. "Report," he demanded. "It is unusual, my lord," replied one of the lords. "A massive vessel, unlike any human design, approaching at incredible speed." Phalor's glowing eyes narrowed. "Impossible. Humans cannot build ships like this." Yet the signal grew stronger. A distant shimmer appeared in the sky, slowly moving toward the planet. It was immense, larger than any Elethari ship in the system. The soldiers below raised alarms, their weapons ready. Phalor stepped forward, projecting calm authority. "Ignore it. It is irrelevant. The humans are ours to command." But doubt had taken root in the hearts of even the most loyal lords. The arrival. Then the sky split. A shadow larger than any city emerged from the void. A hum of power vibrated through the atmosphere. The Elethari soldiers looked up, and for the first time, their confidence faltered. It was the Titan-class battleship Erebus, a human warship built in secret. Its hull gleamed with black steel, bristling with weapon arrays, shield generators, and engines that glowed with raw energy. The sheer size of it dwarfed even Phalor's flagship. Gasps echoed through the plaza. Some colonists fell to their knees in awe. Others stared with disbelief, their fear giving way to a spark of hope. Phalor's voice trembled slightly, though he tried to hide it. "Impossible." The humans had something the Elethari had not expected. Raw, unmatched power. The first strike without warning, the Erebus unleashed a volley of plasma cannons. The Elethari fleet above the planet was massive, but the attack was surgical. Ships that had once seemed invincible disintegrated in brilliant explosions, their remains falling like burning stars through the atmosphere. The crowd in the plaza screamed and ducked. Many cried, fearing the destruction would reach the surface. But Voss lifted his hands, shouting above the chaos, "Stand your ground, the fleet is here, humanity fights back." The colonists looked up, hope flooding them for the first time. The Elethari were shocked. Their so-called God's fleet was being destroyed by a single human vessel. They had always believed humans were weak, slow, and fragile. They had underestimated the resilience and ingenuity of humanity. Human ingenuity. Voss moved quickly through the plaza, organizing small groups of colonists to assist where possible. Some evacuated children and the elderly to safe zones. Others ran to retrieve medical supplies. Everywhere, the humans worked as one. Even the farmers, the miners, and the teachers became soldiers in spirit. They carried weapons salvaged from Elethari patrols, improvised explosives, and hacked alien devices. The Elethari, though powerful, were unprepared for this level of coordination. Their arrogance had blinded them to human potential. Phalor's fury. Phalor screamed across the communication channels, calling for retreat and reinforcement. But the Erebus moved faster, striking with precision at every fleet vessel that attempted to intervene. Each blast shook the sky, and the Elethari could no longer claim invincibility. "This is human technology," one lord whispered, trembling. "They are not weak. They are unstoppable." Phalor's face darkened with rage. "No mortal can wield this kind of power. They must be stopped at all costs." But even as he spoke, the Erebus unleashed a massive energy cannon, striking Phalor's flagship directly. The alien ship shuddered. Under the impact, sparks and flames erupting across its hull, the Lord struggled to maintain control as systems failed. Humanity stands together. On the ground, Voss called out orders to protect the colonists. Teams of humans worked to sabotage remaining Elethari patrols on the streets. They cut power lines to alien devices, toppled barriers, and created distractions. Every act, no matter how small, contributed to the larger battle. Colonists, who had once trembled in fear, now fought with courage. Farmers swung tools like swords. Miners used explosives to disable alien vehicles. Teachers directed groups to safety zones. Even children helped, running messages and assisting the injured. For the first time, the Elethari faced resistance that was organized, fearless, and relentless. The turning point Valor realized too late that the humans were not merely reacting. They were strategic. Every move they made drew the Elethari into traps. Every strike of the Erebus destroyed key assets of the alien fleet. The psychological impact was just as powerful as the physical damage. The Elethari soldiers, once confident in their supremacy, now hesitated. Their so-called god's aura of invincibility had been shattered by human courage, human ingenuity, and human technology. Above the planet, the Erebus hovered with calm authority. Its cannons charged for another strike, targeting a group of alien warships attempting to flee. The explosion that followed shook the heavens, scattering the Elethari forces. The collapse of arrogance. On the ground, Valor could no longer maintain the illusion of divinity. His soldiers faltered. Some hid behind shattered statues. Others abandoned their posts, fleeing toward evacuation pods. The Elethari's arrogance had blinded them to the one truth they could not ignore. Humans were a force unlike any other. Voss watched from the plaza, fists clenched. He did not cheer. Humanity had won the first battle, yes, but the war was not yet over. Yet for the first time he allowed himself a small smile. The Elethari had learned that humans did not bow, humans did not surrender, and humans could wield unimaginable power when united. A new era begins as the sun set over Dawn Reach. The last of the Elethari warships retreated. Smoke and fire streaked across the sky, evidence of their defeat. The colonists emerged from hiding, crying and laughing, in disbelief. They had survived, not through fear or prayer, but through courage, unity, and the strength of a human fleet that had revealed its might at the perfect moment. Voss stood atop the plaza steps, looking at the ruins of the alien occupation. People around him cheered, hugging one another, tears mixing with dust and ash. He knew this victory was only the beginning. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. The humans had shown their true power, not just in weapons, but in their will, their resilience, and their refusal to kneel. Far above, the Erebus floated like a silent guardian. Its presence alone had changed the tide of the battle. Its shadow across Dawn Reach symbolized a new era, the era of humanity standing tall among the stars. Valor, far away in retreat, seethed with rage and disbelief. He had believed himself, God. He had believed humanity would kneel. He had been wrong. The galaxy had witnessed the birth of a new truth. Humans were not prey. Humans were a force to be reckoned with. The skies over Dawn Reach were filled with smoke and fire. The Elethari fleet had retreated, but their threat had not disappeared entirely. Fragments of alien warships still orbited the planet, and small squads of Elethari soldiers prowled the streets, desperate to regain control. Yet the colonists, inspired by the arrival of the human warship Erebus, no longer trembled in fear. Captain Adrian Voss stood atop the steps of the city plaza, surveying the scene. His eyes were sharp, his jaw set. The plaza, once filled with trembling humans, now thrummed with quiet energy. The people had begun to organize themselves, forming teams to secure neighborhoods, rescue those trapped under rubble, and evacuate the wounded. "This is our world," Voss said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. "We will not bow. We will not flee. We will fight. The humans strike back." The Elethari had underestimated the humans, and that mistake was now their undoing. Farmers and miners, once simple civilians, now moved with purpose, using whatever weapons they could find. Improvised flamethrowers, captured. Alien blasters and simple explosives became tools of resistance. In the streets, small groups of humans launched coordinated attacks on remaining alien patrols. Children and teenagers carried messages and water to the fighters. Teachers directed civilians to safe paths. Every action was a testament to human ingenuity and courage. The humans were not just fighting, they were taking back their planet. Valor's last stand. Far above, Valor and his lords gathered on what remained of his flagship. The Elethari had suffered losses unlike any in their history. Ships that had once been symbols of invincibility were now wreckage scattered across space. His soldiers were demoralized, many refusing to fight further. Phalor's glowing eyes burned with fury. "Humans are not mortals," he growled. "They are monsters," one of his lords whispered, trembling. "They are too strong. We cannot fight like this. We must retreat." "No," Valor roared. "We are gods. We cannot show weakness. We will crush them." But even as he spoke, he realized something he could not ignore. The humans had allies in the stars. The Erebus had already destroyed much of the Elithari fleet. Reinforcements from Terran space were moving through hyperspace. Their arrival was inevitable. The human fleet arrives. As if on cue, distant specks of light appeared in the sky. More human ships entered the system, sleek and powerful, their weapons glowing. The Elithari tried to regroup, but panic had set in. Their so-called divine aura had been shattered. Replaced with fear, the Erebus fired another salvo, targeting the flagship directly. Explosions ripped through the Elithari vessel, tearing its hull apart. Vialor's lords were thrown from their stations as alarms screamed. The humans had turned the tide completely. On the surface, colonists cheered. They had survived, but more importantly, they had witnessed something that would change humanity forever. The moment when one human warship revealed that they were a force no alien, no matter how mighty, could ignore. The final confrontation. Voss moved through the streets with Mara and the young miners, rallying colonists to secure the remaining alien troops. They cornered a squad of Elithari soldiers attempting to flee. Voss raised his weapon, though he did not fire immediately. "Your reign is over," he said firmly. "Surrender, and no more will die today." The Elithari leader sneered. "We are eternal. You cannot stop us." Voss smiled grimly. "We don't bow to gods. We fight humans, and humans do not lose." The squad hesitated. Voss's confidence, the courage of the colonists, and the destruction above had broken the soldiers' morale. Slowly, they dropped their weapons. One by one, the remaining Elithari on the planet surrendered. Valor's defeat high above, Valor refused to surrender. His ship shuddered under the relentless fire of the Erebus. Systems failed one by one. Explosions shook the hull. He had believed himself untouchable, a god among mortals. Now, he was powerless. In a final desperate attempt, he activated the ship's energy core for a massive attack, but before he could fire, the Erebus struck with precision. The flagship erupted in a blinding explosion, tearing apart Valor and scattering the remaining forces. The skies fell silent. For the first time in centuries, the Elithari had been defeated by humans. Humanity triumphant. The colonists of Dawnreach emerged from hiding and gathered in the plaza. Their eyes, once wide with fear, now shone with pride. They had survived the impossible. They had faced beings who thought themselves gods, and they had not only endured, they had won. Voss addressed the crowd. "We did not kneel. We did not surrender. We fought, we survived, and we showed the universe what humanity can do. Today, Dawnreach is free. Tomorrow, we take that courage across the stars." The people cheered. They had learned something no alien had ever taught them. Humans would never bow to false gods. A message to the galaxy. Voss activated the colony's communications array, broadcasting a message across the stars. "To all civilizations. We are human. We bow to no gods. We fight for ourselves and each other. Let this be your warning. Humanity will not be conquered." The message echoed through the void, reaching every corner of the system. Aliens across nearby systems received it. Some with awe, some with fear. The galaxy had seen the rise of a new power, the power of humanity united. Dawnreach rebuilt. In the weeks that followed, the colonists rebuilt their world. The Elithari banners were torn down. The silver statues were destroyed or melted into scrap. Families planted gardens where alien machines had once marched. Children ran through the streets laughing again. Free from the shadow of tyranny. Voss oversaw the reconstruction, guiding the people with a steady hand. Mara helped establish schools to educate the next generation. Farmers returned to their fields. Miners repaired their tunnels. The humans of Dawnreach had faced the impossible and emerged stronger. Above them, the Erebus waited in orbit, a silent guardian. Its presence reminded the colonists that humanity's reach extended far beyond their small world. They were not alone. And the galaxy had learned a lesson it would never forget. Humans were not to be underestimated. The legacy of courage. The Elithari would return, perhaps, but the humans had changed the balance of power. They had revealed their true strength, not just in weapons, but in will, courage, and unity. Captain Adrian Voss looked out over the rebuilt plaza. Children played among the ruins of alien machines. Colonists laughed and hugged. The air was filled with the scent of smoke and new beginnings. He smiled quietly. We fought, we won, and we will fight again if we must. But the galaxy will never see us the same way again. Humanity has shown its power, and for the first time humans did not need to hide in fear. They stood tall, proud, and unbroken. The Elithari had thought themselves gods. They had been proven wrong. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, as if acknowledging the rise of a new force, the true power of humanity. The galaxy would never forget Dawnreach, and it would never forget the day a human warship revealed the truth, that humans together were unstoppable,